Hello, this is Robert Gadarian, and today we are talking about objects, which are another way to represent data. We already I've talked about data representation a number of times. Strings are something that is actually a data representation. It's generally just words, but we could actually store other things in there. Lists were ways to store things that needed order. Dictionaries for things that are key value pairs, and the value can be pretty much anything. Even files are a way to describe a file. Objects are another way of just representing data. They're more like dictionaries than anything else, but they are very flexible, and we can use them to have methods and data together, which is something that dictionaries can't do. So we've seen OO programming in Python. It's a big part of it. You saw it in probably week 2 or 3, where we said some string got split. So we had a string and we used split. That's going to break it up on all the white space. Cool. And I just said objects are data and objects and methods to work with that data. So we have some data in some string, and with that data, we're going to split it. So we didn't have to pass the function split anything because it already knew about this string that is some data. So that method was getting called on that data. So that's excellent. And it was beautiful, and it keeps everything very cohesive, which is very nice. So what is an object? Something we can describe. Person, place, or thing. It's a noun. What would a person object look like? Well, I might have a human object for that can describe anyone in this class. And you would have a name. You would have a place of birth, presumably. You would have a list of places you've been. You could even have some kind of mother and father, or X chromosome donator and X and or Y chromosome donator. And then actually, even that's difficult because not everyone has just 2 chromosomes. It actually becomes difficult because of that reason. We have to be able to represent everything in our object. So we have to have a data set and then look at it and be able to describe it. What about a coffee cup? Oh, I don't have one handy. That is so unusual. We'll pretend this is coffee. This is very weak coffee. There is color. This one happens to be clear. There is a volume. There is a percentage of liquid. There is the shape of the handle. There is the diameter of the hole. There is a height. There's a lot of things there for us. So we could represent that in code with those pieces of data. A car. What is the top speed? How many wheels does it have? What size are the wheels? How strong is the engine? What kind of transmission does it have? I could go on this one. I'm a nerd. So there, of course, there's new syntax. The new keyword is class. This is really the DNA of all of our objects. This describes everything. So all humans would be able to fill these pieces of data: name and age. Arguably, we shouldn't actually store age as a number, but that's okay. So what is the default name? Insert name here, right? Like, there is no default name. What about an age? 0 might be an acceptable answer. -1, just to say that we haven't filled it out yet. It all depends on when we are creating an instance of this object. So this is our class definition. This is what all humans will be like the shape of the box. This describes us. And then we will make an instance of this. So I'll say one of these is a human, and its name is Robert, and his age is 36. The other one might be Heather, and the age would be, I'm not going to venture a guess. Another one could be Alex, and the age of 7. Another one named Ben, age of 3. And those are all instances of human. And you can see how that human is the DNA. It is what everyone comes from, but then you are an individual offshoot, an instance of a human. So how do we work with it? New syntax, human brackets. So that matches with class human. That name carries over to our code, human brackets. We saw this with the built-in functions list and the built-in function dict and set. It looked like a function that returned an object. This is a function that will return a human object to us. It'll be a new one. And they're all separate. but they're all going to be based on this same code. They will all have names and they will all have ages. And that is all bespoke to that one person. And we can set the name. My human.name is equal to Alex. And then you can print the age, which would print -1. That's interesting. But we're not all named Alex. This might be news to you. So why are we setting everyone's name to Alex and every using a human? Like this doesn't actually work. We don't want to do that. So what I want to do is have a constructor. And this is more advanced than what you'll see in the primer, scientific primer book. But this is the way that I really think objects should look, where we have these pieces of data that are true for everyone, and then they get set. This function is called init, and it is called a constructor. It is called when we create a new instance of human. So it is called the dunder method. There is 2 underscores because Python is hateful in these things, and that is how they show a built-in function that we're overriding. That is very fancy talk. What you have to know is that this function will get called when we call this human function. And I'm going to pass in Alex and 7. And if we look back here, you'll see the name, Alex, is going to get slotted into there, and the age, 7, is going to get slotted into there. This is new. This means that it's an instance method. So how does this method know about itself? Well, this self thing is legitimately a self-referential pointer, me. So when I say init, and then I have 2 functions, I'm going to say my name is whatever you passed me, and my age is whatever you passed me. Because I'm an instance of a human, and my name is going to change. If I change my name, it should have no effect on your human object. Your name should stay untouched. So how would we make a university object? Or university class, I should say. I should say university lecture, because class is a keyword. But that's okay. Class lecture slot. That makes more sense. And we're going to get a little bit bigger here. There's going to be some facts about us. We don't actually have to have those 2 lines before the init. I like initializing everything in the init. And because it's Python, it will actually create these attributes to this object in there. So def underscore init underscore blah self. What does every class have? It has course code, which is probably going to be a string, and it's got a lecture slot name, AO1, AO2, and it can have an instructor, prof. So then self.course code, I can name this anything, is equal to course code. Does that feel bad? They're actually different variables. Even though they're both named course code, this is fully qualified to be my course code is equal to whatever course code you passed me. I could name this just CC, and that's fine. That's something that people like doing. I actually like having the namespace collision. It's actually kind of a least astonishment thing. If you take software engineering with me, which you should, it's a 3rd year computer science course, and you love computer science at this point, it's fascinating, and how to actually keep readable code. Let's spell this correctly. Cool. So now I'm going to have my class is equal to lecture slot. And I'm going to pass in the course code of comp, blah. I even could break that into 2 pieces of data, couldn't I? It would be department name and course number. And then it would be like string and int. That's data representation choices. What do you want to do? AO1, that is not a number. That's got to be a string. And prof, some guy. Guy. Okay. Now, if I print my class, what the heck is this going to do? Main lecture slot object at 0x7ff5cc8b99d0. Gross. I can actually access my attributes, and that's what you can call these instance variable or instance variables or attributes. Both of those are terms for this data that is inside of this object. And we actually have more than one piece of data. Strings only had one piece of data, where it's just like the string. Here we can have many, and that is more like a dictionary. And you can think of these as key value lookups. These are a lot like dictionaries if you just have attributes. Course code. You don't have to spell it right. You do have to spell it consistently. And now that'll print it out. So this is gross. I don't like that. We'll solve that. Don't worry. We could have a default ended constructor. Heck yes. We could actually set age equals 0 there and name inside. I would probably say self.age is equal to 0 in the constructor because that's my flavor. But this works too. This works too. And I'd be completely happy with it. So far we've seen that we can have attributes or instance variables inside of an object. This is just a dictionary at this point. You would have a different dictionary for every human. But now, next class, we're going to add methods, and then things get better and beautiful and wonderful. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later.